historic and devastating flooding in Dallas, we have just learned it has now turned deadly. The rescue's underway all day today. Tonight, more than 17 million Americans are on alert for flooding into the night, with the system now on the move. In Dallas-Fort Worth, more than 9 inches in 24 hours, the highest total in 90 years. And outside Dallas, one area reporting 15 inches of rain. The high water rescues to get to families and drivers stranded all day today. The rain falling so heavily and so quickly. Drivers caught by surprise near downtown Dallas. These images from Interstate 30. Dramatic rescues from flooded underpasses, firefighters plunging into neck-high waters, pulling drivers from their submerged vehicles. Elsewhere, the rushing water carrying cars away and simply dumping them. Cars piled up, a truck teetering off the wall. Neighborhood streets turned to rivers, flooding homes, rescue teams helping families make the dangerous journey out. Tonight, this flood threat is now pushing east. Multiple states facing flood watches and alerts at this hour, so Ginger Z is standing by on that. But first, ABC's Will Carr leading us off from Dallas tonight.
Once in a 1,000-year rain event swamping the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Look at some of these totals. Southeast Dallas, potentially over 15 inches of rain. Balk Springs, where there was a lot of problems, over 12 inches of rain, so a foot of rain.
Rain moving in fast overnight, inundating urban roadways.
Caught people off guard, but I think everybody wasn't anticipating this much rain this fast.
Many trying to get through, their vehicles stalling in the floodwaters. Near downtown Dallas, this incredible scene captured by a storm chaser's drone, showing first responders swimming on Interstate 30, trying to reach stranded motorists, directing them to higher ground. Receding water revealing this pickup truck atop a highway barrier. And the rain kept coming long after sunrise.
So many cars have been stranded and abandoned in these floodwaters after we've seen more rain in the past 24 hours than this area normally gets in an entire summer.
East of Dallas and Balch Springs, families and their pets rescued from their homes surrounded by rapids.
The current's so strong going past my house, it'll wash you away.
Monsoon rains combined with the tropical system brought widespread flooding across the Southwest all weekend. And in Utah's Zion National Park, crews searching for Jaytel Agnihotri overdue from her hike, missing after flash floods tore through the park Friday.
I mean, it's frustrating. It's already day 3 for us, and we haven't found any clue except the backpack.
Searchers finding another injured hiker who was swept away, taking them to the hospital.
David, tonight as that storm system shifts east, the county judge here just announced the first death related to this flood system. He also just announced a county disaster, hoping to help everybody here in Dallas County. David.
Extraordinary pictures coming in from our station WFAA, and our thanks to you, Will, as well.
Hey there, this is Danielle, your celestial piper, soldier of the watch, welcoming you to Weird News Wednesday, where we're going to be discussing some news that is strange and unusual. An Ice Age bison was discovered, then soon eaten once the foul taste was smothered. Well, that just sounds appetizing, doesn't it? So, apparently gold miners discovered the mummified steppe bison, now called Blue Babe. Researchers believe it is more than 50,000 years old. Unfortunately, radiocarbon dating tools can't measure any further back than that. In 1979, researchers unearthed the mummified body of a 55,000-year-old steppe bison in the Alaskan tundra. Shortly after, they sliced off a piece of its neck to eat. That's gross. Here's a news story told in rhyme. This is not a traditional story. Not many names or dates, so don't worry. It's also not incredibly timely, but it's about an Ice Age steppe bison and a man whose thought process defies me. Let's start with the creature. Lived more than 55,000 years ago, was brought to his knees by a lion ancestor foe. Down went the bison on permafrost ground, which kept him from being eaten or found. Neither predator nor man disturbed the behemoth mass, as it remained encased in a protective frozen glass. Leaping forward to 1979, a team of explorers venture out to mine. Gold is what they are on the lookout for, on the spot where the bison hit the floor. With a hydraulic mining hose, they melted away, some frozen sludge, till someone said, Whoa, stop, hey. They reported their findings to University of Alaska Fairbanks. Officials Dale Guthrie led the excavation, limiting interstitials. My twisted mind can't help to wonder, did the bison taste razor burn? Brain activity of dying patients shows life really does flash before our eyes during death. The 87-year-old patient had electrodes placed on his head to detect seizures after he suffered a fall. When he died during treatment, doctors recorded unprecedented activity. Civilizations throughout time have pondered what really happens during death. Now, for the first time, scientists have recorded a dying brain, and they have made a shocking discovery. Our life may truly flash before our eyes when we die. The scientists managed to observe the neural activity of this dying man for 900 uninterrupted seconds. How cool is that? A new study saw scientists from across the globe delve into the final moments of an 87-year-old man's life. As published in the Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience Journal, the patient died of a heart attack while being treated for epileptic seizures, and his doctors at Vancouver General Hospital in British Columbia recorded his brain in the process. Researchers specifically studied the 30-second intervals before and after the patient's heart stopped. What they discovered was that his life might have literally flashed before his eyes, as his brain produced neural oscillations that typically occur when one is dreaming or exploring old memories. It's quoted saying, "Through generating oscillations involved in memory retrieval, the brain may be playing a last recall of important life events just before we die, similar to the ones reported in near-death experiences," said Dr. Amal Zemmer of the University of Louisville. Commonly known as brain waves, neural oscillations essentially define the electrical activity of our brains. The oscillations occur at different frequencies and have generally been categorized into different states of consciousness. In this case, the patient's cardiac arrest showed drastic changes in the patient's alpha and gamma waves. This interaction has long been known to correlate with the memory recall, dreaming, meditation, the processing of information, and conscious perception. In other words, flashbacks. Given that cross-coupling between alpha and gamma activity is involved in cognitive processes and memory recall in healthy subjects, it is intriguing to speculate that such activity could support a last recall of life that may take place in the near-death state, the study said. It's important to note that this study is the first of its kind, as the live brain activity of a dying human being has never been measured like this before. On the other hand, these oscillations have been previously monitored in rats, which suggests the brain might launch the same biological response to death in multiple species. The study does provide certain considerations, however, such as the patient's brain being traumatized by bleeding, swelling, and seizures while this activity was recorded. The man had also been administered substantial doses of anti-seizure medication, and there was no baseline for his normal brain activity. Ultimately, however, the research does suggest that near-death experiences provide us with a proverbial slideshow of our lives, and that our brains execute that particular neural response on purpose. For Zemmer, The findings have forced us to redefine when life truly begins and ends, and not to grieve too deeply. Something we may learn from this research is, although our loved ones have their eyes closed and are ready to leave us to rest, their brains may be replaying some of the nicest moments they experienced in their lives. This one really hit home for me since I lost my mom last year. So I really hope that she had some really good memories flash before her eyes, because she was afraid to die. So I hope this gives some people out there who is afraid to die some hope, because I truly believe there's an afterlife. Experts believe that Jesus may have used cannabis oil to perform his miracles. If cannabis was one of the main ingredients of the ancient anointing oil, and receiving this oil is what made Jesus the Christ and his followers Christians, then persecuting those who use cannabis could be considered antichrist. So here's a controversial theory. Jesus and his apostles might have used cannabis oil to perform his healing miracles. This controversial theory that is being championed by a number of experts. Author David Bienenstock, who is also the editor-in-chief of High Times magazine, believes that cannabis was widely available during Jesus' era 2,000 years ago. He also believes that cannabis was used all across the Middle East to treat various illnesses and ailments. In an interview with the Daily Star Online, Bienenstock said, "There is nothing different in the efficacious cannabis oil used today that wouldn't have been available to people in Jesus' time. It's simply a matter of concentrating the cannabis into the oil and absorbing it through the skin." Scholars have pointed to a specific text from the Bible to support this theory. They claim that a recipe for Jesus' holy anointing oil in Exodus 30, verses 22 to 25, actually contains cannabis. Take the following fine spices: 500 shekels of liquid myrrh, half as much of fragrant cinnamon, 250 shekels of quane balsam, 500 shekels of cassia, all according to the sanctuary shekel, and a hind of olive oil. Make these into a sacred anointing oil, a fragrant blend, the work of a perfumer. It will be the sacred anointing oil. In that Bible passage, there's a mysterious herb mentioned, quane balsam. Not sure if I'm saying that right, but that is how commonly identified as cane balsam. Again, could be mispronouncing it. And some historians have reason to believe that this herb was in fact cannabis. Now, is that reaching? I don't know. What do you think? You can leave a comment below. Chris Bennett, a cannabis historian and author of a number of books related to the subject, believes too that cannabis is right in the good book, and even asserts that if cannabis was one of the main ingredients of the ancient anointing oil, and receiving this oil is what made Jesus the Christ and his followers Christians, then persecuting those who use cannabis could be considered antichrist. Bennett further cites the work of a little-known Polish etymologist, Sula Bennett. In 1936, Bennett demonstrated that the root of the word "con" translates to hemp or reed, while the balsam translates to aromatic. Most historians believe that cane balsam refers to the root extract calamus, which is used for its medicinal purposes to this day. But Bennett claims that this is the result of a simple mistranslation, which she argues occurred sometime during the 3rd century. The theory that cane balsam refers to cannabis in the Bible naturally has its skeptics. Leighton John Musselman, a professor of botany at Old Dominion University who's familiar with the theory, maintains that the correct translation of cannabis is the original one, calamus. Musselman also asserts that the medicinal properties of calamus align with the healing benefits of the anointing oil that's described in the Bible. He explains, calamus is a very important component of Ayurvedic medicine and has been shown to have efficacy. For example, in Sri Lanka, it is available in any herbal remedy shop and also universally grown in home gardens. The North American species was and is so important to Native Americans in the Northeast that land with natural populations is highly sought after. Please note that there may have been some mispronunciation there on words and names. Regardless, people the world over love to think that Jesus was a toker. Indeed, the Stoner Jesus Bible Study in Colorado insists that Jesus was peaceful and loving. He went from house to house and was always accepted. Only a stoner could do that. I'm sure this article ruffled many a feather. But I've even heard people discuss that manna from heaven may have very well been mushrooms, of the magical variety. Well, that completes today's Weird News Wednesday. Tell me your thoughts. What do you think? Leave a comment down below. In the description area, my email will be there if you want to send any links to any weird news that you might come across, and the links to the articles that I've discussed with you today. So that is all for now. Peace out, my friends, and shine your light.